In the previous episodes, we poured the foundation for the fence, welded the metal frame, and laid the brick posts. Now it's time to make the gate. Today we will show you how to make a gate from start to finish, with every step detailed. It's very easy to do it yourself, and anyone can handle it. We'll also specify all the materials, the gate diagram with dimensions, and a detailed estimate. We'll make the gate at the lowest possible cost and won't invent complex structural elements. Since we, like most viewers, don't have specialized machines or skills to make these complex parts, we'll only design where it makes sense in terms of effort and finances. Plus, we'll get a great result. A gate like the one we're making today has been working perfectly for almost 10 years for a friend of ours. So, let's get started. In one of the previous episodes, we poured the foundation for the sliding gate. The gate foundation is laid to the depth of freezing, which in our area is about 60 centimeters. The foundation width is 30 centimeters, but you can make it even smaller. The foundation length should be half the width of the driveway. We are making a driveway with a standard width of 4 meters, so the foundation length should be 2 meters. We used a 14th channel steel beam, 2 meters long, as the embedded part for the sliding gate. Now I would use a 12th channel steel beam. As it turned out, there's no need to overpay. For its connection to the concrete, we used 8mm rebar. A brief note on the gate automation. Here is the gate closing sensor. If something is in the gate zone, the sensor will activate and the gate won't close. There's one sensor here and another one on the opposite side. I also made an embedded part there. The sensors are connected to the motor, which will be located in the first half of the 2-meter beam. 2 sensors will come here and an additional signal light may also be installed, which flashes when the gate leaf is moving. You can make an embedded part on one of the 2 posts, but I won't do that. The cables from the motor will run to the house. Hello? If you want to see in more detail how we poured the foundation for the gate and made the embedded parts for utilities, follow the link under the video or the title that should appear in the video. The episode is already available for viewing. Now, let's move on to the gate itself. When ordering the metal for the fence, I also ordered all the materials for the sliding gate. For our 4-meter wide gate, we purchased a 6-meter long beam with a set of hardware, a 60 by 40 millimeter pipe, a 20 by 40 millimeter pipe. This is the minimum set we need to make a fully functional sliding gate. So for the operation of gates like this, there's one essential requirement: space for the structure to move when opening. We accounted for this detail when planning the fence and made a 6-meter long section of the fence between the gate and the pedestrian gate, behind which our structure will hide. The guide is exactly the width of the fence section, as planned. However, I decided to straighten the crooked ends of the beam a bit. This is the shape of the guide beam. I trim the pipe to the length of the beam. One end is just leveled. The other is trimmed to create a specific shape. Thank you. Pipe 60 by 40 millimeters. I made a kind of tongue, which will give me a larger contact area between the 2 parts, making the structure stronger. I decide on the height of the gate. Since the rollers will be raised on bolts, I set them at the height where they will be installed. The gap under the gate after laying the paving stones should be about 7 centimeters. If it's smaller, snow will interfere with the operation in winter. If it's too high, dogs will be able to crawl under the gate. I place a piece of the beam on the roller support for more precision and measure from the rail to the upper fixing point. The rollers will be installed on top with a 1 centimeter gap, giving the gate height. The pipe between the rollers is the top of the gate. In fact, to simplify the installation process when pouring the brick post foundation, it is common to embed a couple of rebar pieces to which a vertical metal post will later be welded. Then, during the final installation of the gate leaf, you can adjust and weld the top rollers at almost any height. I didn't like this design for the post, so I decided to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Just a small embedded part at the top of the post. On this side, I trimmed it and everything fits nicely. It will be welded and no caps will even be needed. On the other side, I didn't make the cut. First, I will measure the opening with an extra allowance for the posts, and then I'll know how long the gate leaf should be. I'm making the gate 20 centimeters wider than the opening. The brick posts will hide all the fixation points as well as the side edges of the gate frame. As a result, it will look more complete. By the way, if the gate turns out to be not perfectly shaped, the posts will also hide this flaw from the street side. The trimming itself is quite simple. The key is to measure correctly. Here's an example.
Whoop.
And it's done. The main frame is cut. Now I need to prepare the counterweight. For this, I need to properly set up the rectangle. We recall the Pythagorean theorem and determine the diagonal of the rectangle. I set it up so that both diagonals match. Height 160 centimeters, length 410 centimeters, diagonal 440 centimeters. Now I need to weld all the elements, but I have nothing to weld with. There are no electrodes. I always check again, because during welding the metal can warp. Everything is fine. I mark the corners on site. I also make a tail, which simultaneously closes the end and gives me a stronger connection. I weld this side more thoroughly. And the other side similarly. Sometimes a crossbar is added to the triangle, but I decided not to make one, as it's unnecessary here. After welding thoroughly, I clean up the excess with an angle grinder, bringing the surface to perfection. After pouring the fence, we had some sand and gravel left. So I decided to pour a small concrete slab for a car using the leftovers, which now serves as our platform for assembling the gate. Otherwise, I would have had to build a huge level table to make the gate frame on it, and that would take time and effort. Plus, it wouldn't have been as convenient to work. After turning the gate around a bit, I concluded that it's best to place the frame on the guide and tack weld it under load. It doesn't make sense to weld the entire joint. To make the tack welds look nice, I mark the places for welding with a certain step. If you happen to not know how to weld, no problem. YouTube can help. By watching a few videos, I myself greatly improved the speed of my work and the quality of the welds. Learn, practice on metal scraps, and dive in with confidence. I never thought I'd enjoy welding so much, but it turned out well. However, my first weld was honestly not very good, so don't be afraid, try it, and everything will turn out fine. Now for the crossbars to fill the main part of the sliding gate. I mark it so that the crossbars on the gate align in height and continue the fence design. I cut them, welded them. I trim the embedded part where the upper holding rollers will be welded. To avoid damaging the external appearance of the post with welding, I'll make a protective cover. I clean up the welding spots. Here, basically, like everywhere in welding work, tack weld, check, weld thoroughly. This is how it turned out. Preparing for painting, degrease, paint. This paint doesn't require a primer, so we can paint directly onto the metal. However, for a quality result, it's necessary to apply 2 to 3 coats of paint. Almost all the gates on the rail have rust. At the very least, this doesn't look good. I will fix this using sealant and a rubber spatula. It would be a good idea to weld the toothed rail for the automatic gate opener before painting. However, the rails usually come as part of the motor kit, and since I haven't bought the motor yet, I will leave this step for later. There's a gap between the rail and the pipe where water, snow, and so on can get in, and the metal will start rusting from the inside. I will seal this gap with sealant and repaint it. The embeds for the communications are trimmed with a margin, and I will seal them. At the stage of installing the automation, I will adjust them more precisely. The kit includes this rail, the bottom one, which has this shape. Here, by the way, is a piece of this rail that I cut. The metal seems to be 3 millimeters thick. This is its shape. Also, the kit includes a couple of these rollers, 2 holders where the gates will roll into. These are installed at the bottom, and this one is installed at the top. The front part of the gate rolls into this one. At the bottom, a wheel is installed into this rail. It will roll into the holder like this, and the gates won't hang. They will be fixed, and there will be no tension on the gate structure. At the other end of the guide beam, a simple plug is installed. Here's the rail. It's installed like this so that no snow, rain, or anything else gets inside. Usually, wheels are welded directly to the base. You place them, weld them, and that's it. But in this case, if the gate sags or the geometry changes somehow, I won't be able to adjust the gate in any direction. Therefore, there's a special plate that is attached with 4 bolts. It's installed and welded. Then the rollers are mounted on these 4 bolts and fixed at a certain height. I didn't find this plate for sale, so I just bought bolts, which I'll weld in the same way, and it will be just as good. These are 16 millimeter bolts with a height of 160. There's a projection here which I'll grind down with a grinder before welding. I use a string to determine the plane of the gate. This will allow me to place the roller supports correctly. The wheels must be on the same line. If there's any tilt, the bearings will wear out faster and the gate will move less smoothly along the guide. The platform is easier. I just place it and weld it, but the bolts need a bit more work. However, the result is no worse. It's still level and reliable. I plan to use 2 regular nuts on each side of the wheelbase, but I preferred these ones. The nut with a plastic ring holds perfectly without any extra hassle. I set it up so that the platform is horizontally installed and aligned with the gate's movement line. And of course, I align it all at the same level. A historical moment. Let's try to install the gate in place. I have a feeling I won't be able to lift it. The structure turned out to be quite heavy. We transport it with improvised means to the installation site. A child's skateboard handled the task perfectly.
Супер! Класс! Давай. Поехали.
The upper rollers can be adjusted left and right within a few centimeters. I use them to make sure the sliding gate is vertical. I leave a few millimeters of clearance to allow the gate to move freely. After installing the gates and all the adjustments, I can mount the opposite strip. Usually when laying the post, embeds are made, and a pipe with catchers is welded to them. I will weld this pipe to the crossbars of the fence. I tack weld the pipe. Then, right at the top, I tack weld the upper catcher. At the bottom, I install the end roller with a plug into the rail. This wheel will roll into the lower catcher and take the load off the structure. When closed, the gate will not hang. I close and check. I weld the catcher a couple of millimeters higher than the mark. Now when the gate closes, the wheel will roll onto the shelf, thus unloading that side of the gate. Part of the weight will be transferred to this strip. In the closed position, the gate is fixed in 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why should the gate be larger than the opening? Because in this spot, the gate should go behind the wheels. As you can see, it's really tight here. On the other side, the gate must fit into these holders behind the post. The front attachment is not at the level of the opening, but shifted to the side. This is done to ensure the gate opens as wide as possible. If the attachment were further to the left, the wheel on the guide would hit the rollers. At the tail end, a plug is also installed. By the way, there should also be a margin here. The rollers should not reach the end of the guide beam. I close the top of the pipe with a plastic cap to protect it from precipitation. Snow and rain won't get in. I leave the bottom of the pipe open. And so I promised the sliding gate diagram and the cost estimate. Here is the diagram. Pause and study it. These gates have been time-tested for about 10 years, with nothing sagging and everything working perfectly. If necessary, the gate can be adjusted in different planes with bolts and upper rollers. If you decide to cover the gate with something heavy, such as wood, I would also add a couple of diagonals for better structural strength. This will prevent sagging. As for the costs, here's what was spent on the gate. Foundation gate. I recommend watching the previous series about the fence, how we, without experience, easily and quickly laid the brick posts in one day, poured the foundation, and welded the fence frame, as well as poured the foundation for the gate. All the links are already in the description below the video and in the comments. In the next series, we'll show you how to easily make a gate with an electric lock, as well as install automation for the sliding gates. We'll calculate the cost of different types of fencing, and much more. Subscribe to the channel. It's the best thank you for our work and great support for the development of the channel. Also, check out our Instagram page. The best is yet to come. Wishing you peaceful skies. See you in the next episodes.